Imagine how astronauts must feel as they are hurtled 17,000 miles per hour into outer space. Once they successfully are in space though, that's probably even more terrifying. They have so many things to worry about. So today, let's check out what astronauts fear the most. From the fear of returning home to the fear of a spacesuit malfunction. Let's talk about this and more only in today's video. Hey everyone, what's up and welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. I'm your host Lindsay Ivan, and today we are looking at the top 10 dark things astronauts are afraid of in space part 2. If you haven't seen part 1, what are you doing? Go check that out as well. Also, smash that like button, obviously subscribe to our channel. Now, we'll get on with the video. Starting off this countdown, we have the fear of heights. Now, you might be like, why would you become an astronaut if you're afraid of heights? Don't ask me, but NASA astronaut Drew Futzel has a fear of heights, but this hasn't impacted any of his missions. In 2018, days before he was sent back into space, NASA released a video revealing 5 facts about the astronaut that people might not know. For one of the facts, he revealed he is afraid of heights. But like I said, this hasn't affected his missions. He has spent a total of 29 days in space and completed 42 hours of spacewalks over the course of 2 missions. That's pretty insane. Whereas other astronauts think that they're fine and they're not afraid of heights until they go to space and they're like, whoa, okay, look at Earth down there, we're really high up. In our 9th spot, we have the damage. Now in part 1 of this video, I talked about mechanical failures. That's something that astronauts fear. Something that they also fear that is kind of along the same lines would be spacecraft failure. Like the craft itself getting damaged and it starts breaking apart. That's what's protecting the astronauts from space. If their craft breaks down, they are pretty much stranded. How are they going to return home without a vessel to travel in? While extensive steps are taken to avoid this, it can still happen at any moment. They could get hit by a meteoroid or by space junk and it could easily bang up the craft and cause unrepairable damage. Or chemical leaks or air leaks. You just never know. And this is what keeps astronauts on their toes. In our 8th spot, we have the return home. I can only imagine how life-changing going to space would be for someone. It could change an astronaut's life forever, but not always in a positive way. After being in space for so long, they are not used to the conditions of Earth. Some astronauts have developed really bad anxiety after returning home. The cause for this is the constant stimulation. In space, it's pretty quiet. When they return home, they need to get used to the noise of crowds and everything constantly going on around them. This often overwhelms them. Others worry about the physical impact space has on their body. Getting used to gravity again apparently makes astronauts feel really sick, and for months they feel woozy and they feel like they're just gonna throw up constantly. Also, when astronauts return home, it throws off their balance, so it's like learning to walk all over again. Honestly, at this point I'm like, where are the pros of going to space? All I see are cons. Moving on to number 7, we have dying. One of the most common fears in the world is the fear of dying. If you stay out of harm's way, you have a less chance of dying. But for astronauts, well, they're being sent into the unknown. Anything could happen at any given time and they could die. I think we all know by now how dangerous their job is. So I mean, it makes sense that astronauts would be fearful of losing their life in space. Moving on to number 6, we have the orbit fire. This is pretty crazy. Fires in space are very real, and a flame in microgravity can be even more dangerous than a fire on Earth. Why? Well, the flame can survive on less oxygen and can burn for a longer period of time. This actually happened in 1997 aboard the Mir space station. On February 24th, 6 crew members were in serious danger when a fire ignited aboard the craft. According to one of the astronauts aboard the craft, he said, and I quote, "The fire was so enormous and the smoke and vapor coming off this fire site was such that we couldn't see at arm's length, and I could not at that time have imagined that we go on with the mission." Now they did end up putting out the fire, but what made this so dangerous is that it took a while before the fire was even detected. That's because on Earth hot air rises, so the smoke detectors pick up on the smoke and then the alarm sounds. In space, the smoke doesn't flow like that, it will just follow the flow of the ventilation systems, meaning it will take a while before the smoke detectors do pick up on it. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with getting trapped. Imagine being miles and miles away from home with no way to get back. This is another thing that astronauts fear. They get sent into space and it ends up being a one-way ticket. Whether that be their craft malfunctions and there's no way to fix it, or from losing permanent contact with ground control, who knows? But if they do get trapped in space, they're kind of SOL, just floating around for days until they run out of food, supplies, or oxygen, or all of the above. In our fourth spot, we have the oxygen. At any time, a spacecraft could lose air pressure and oxygen and then become a death trap for the astronauts. There's just tons of things that could go wrong with the oxygen in space. Like for the Apollo 13 mission, the crew experienced a blown oxygen tank and the other was leaking very fast. Thankfully, they were able to stop the leaks and had enough breathable air to still make it home. But still, it could have ended much worse. Now, what would happen in the worst case scenario if they lose air pressure and oxygen? Well, the astronauts wouldn't die instantly. They would black out in about 15 seconds because in that amount of time, deoxygenated blood will have arrived to their brain. With no oxygen, the brain shuts down pretty dang fast. Also, low pressures will force the gas exchange in their body to start reversing itself. So the oxygen will be pulled out of your body and thrown into the lungs, where it's released out of the body. If you try holding your breath, your lungs will probably rupture. Then you'll experience hypoxia, your skin will turn blue, you'll lose vision and convulse, among other nasty things like having your body just swell up. So yeah, I can see why that scares astronauts, yeah. In our third spot, we have the ammonia leak. This is apparently what NASA trainers tell astronauts. They say, and I quote, "If you smell ammonia, don't worry about running the procedure because you're gonna die anyway." How great is that? How reassuring. So liquid ammonia is used to keep the station's electricity generating solar panels cool. However, ammonia is highly toxic. In March of 2021, 2 astronauts doing a spacewalk outside of the International Space Station had to be checked for ammonia contamination. The 2 were outside fixing the cooling system when frozen flakes of ammonia were released. The astronauts had to have their suits inspected for ammonia crystals before returning to the station. If it's brought inside, well, it's hella corrosive and also a huge irritant to one's eyes and lungs. In our second spot, we have the suit problems. Probably the worst time for an astronaut's suit to malfunction would be when they're out on a spacewalk. This happened in 2001 with Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield. He was out on a spacewalk when his left eye suddenly started to sting and fill with tears. Well, the tears ended up forming a blob of fluid that covered his right eye. So he's got his left eye stinging and tearing up, and we got his right eye obstructed by the tears. So he was left blinded while out in space. Now, Chris was worried that maybe his eye was stinging because of a toxic gas leak in the suit. So ground control told him to release all the air in his suit to get rid of the potential contaminant. So this guy's in space, he can't see, and now he's told to get rid of all breathable air. I would be like, hell no, I'm not doing that. But Chris did as he was told, and that did the trick. Turns out, thankfully, the thing that irritated his eyes was the anti-fogging agent that was applied to the inside of his visor. So it was nothing deadly. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the drowning. Now, you might be thinking, Lindsay, how does one drown in space? Well, it's actually much scarier than you actually realize. And this happened on July 16th, 2013 to ECA astronaut Luca Parmitano during his spacewalk. So Luca was out on his spacewalk when he felt water on the back of his neck. Turns out that some contamination blocked a fan pump in his suit, which caused the water to back up and start filling his helmet with coolant water. Soon enough, the water in Luca's suit was blocking his vision. He had no way to clear his eyes, nose, or mouth. Thankfully, he was able to make it back to the space station just in time before he drowned. Alright guys, that's all for today's video. Let me know in the comments below. Would you ever become an astronaut if you had the chance? I'm gonna say hell to the no. Now, speaking of comments, let's move on to our comment shoutout portion. I'll be shouting out comments from the video, top 10 dark photos that billionaires don't want you to see. Jim Smith commented, Zuckerberg's haircut is more of an embarrassment than the sunscreen. He's just got the classic... He's just got a classic haircut, you know? He doesn't do anything crazy to it. He should grow it out. Let's sign a petition to have Mark Zuckerberg grow out his hair. I don't know, but that sunscreen photo was really funny, not gonna lie. Paul Purr commented, Lindsay, I love your style. You have so many cute outfits. Thanks. It's called thrift store chic. Huh. And then the Lich King commented, I had a weird dream last night. Lindsay was the landlady and told me to pay rent. But when I looked at the bills, the price was ridiculously expensive. Then of course I woke up. Welcome to Toronto, okay? The rent prices are disgustingly high. Also, I'm sorry, I don't sound like I was a good landlady, but if you weren't paying the bills, man, you gotta pay up. Anyways, alright guys, that's all the comments I'm shouting out for today's video. Make sure to comment something down below for a chance to be featured in my next comment shout out. And as always, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to Most Amazing Top 10 for more amazing videos. I've been your host, Lindsay Ivan, and I'll say ya.